Well, I am so glad you're here today. For Ottawa Business Matters, I'm Sam LaPrade. And as we know, a lot of talk is happening about our downtown. And we wanted to have a conversation today about all of it. And we're going to start with Sueling Ching, President and CEO of the Ottawa Board of Trade. Hello, Sueling.
Hello, Sam.
We talk about Ottawa, how big Ottawa is, the downtown core. We've had a lot of conversations because it's changed, hasn't it?
It has changed. I mean, all downtowns across the country changed during the pandemic when everyone went home in order to foster healthy communities, as we were asked to do. But it really changed the face of downtowns and central business districts, which across the country are a huge part of our communities and our economies. Across the country, collectively, our metropolitan areas account for over 60% of the national GDP. In Ottawa in particular, we were impacted highly because we have a very strong public sector presence here. And so when the pandemic was over and the workforce strategy changed so that people didn't have to be in the office as much, it certainly did change the landscape of our downtown.
I hear change, but I hear opportunity. Is that how you see it?
That's the only way I see it, yes. I mean, cities are sort of living beings in a way, right? Like they change, and we've been very lucky in Ottawa as the seat of the national government. We've been very lucky to have these great paying jobs, to have all the innovation that's taking place in Ottawa, all the amenities, all the embassies we have that bring that cosmopolitan spirit to our city. And we've been very fortunate. And so because it is shifting a little, we still want to use those assets, but now is an opportunity for us to actually think of the downtown core as being perhaps more diverse, more resilient, more vibrant than we maybe would have even contemplated moving toward if we hadn't gone through this last 3 years.
And I think when I think about the Ottawa Board of Trade, of course, I think about all the great events and membership, but I really see that you have taken a huge leadership role in terms of the redevelopment, the sort of thinking about what that downtown core would be. How important was it to have kind of that one voice thinking about the downtown core?
Yeah, so this is something, I mean, definitely membership benefits, like the programs that we have for our members and the events have always been very important. Also, the policy work that we do at every level of government to make sure that we have programs and priorities that support business growth. But increasingly, we've become going back to our roots, actually, of city building, becoming more and more interested in and involved in city building as an economic driver. And so we started a city building summit actually in 2019, and we've kind of grown that and expanded that mandate. And so through the pandemic, we were consistently being asked by media, you know, what we were going to do about the downtown without, you know, the offices and the public service coming back, and how that was impacting the businesses, impacting downtown as a visitor attraction, which is so important to our economy. And so, you know, in the beginning, we just thought everybody was going to go back to normal. And then at some point, we realized that this was actually an opportunity for us to reimagine what the downtown core could be. And it's critically important in Ottawa, as it is across the country, but particularly in Ottawa, because we're the nation's capital. You know, we're the cultural and economic hub of this city, the whole city, the region, but also a symbol for everyone coming to our country as well. So last year we said this is probably one of the biggest things that has happened in our city, and so we declared it a top priority to look at that. And so we've been working with other people who are doing work on downtown as well, and then advocating to every level of government. And now we're taking that one step further with an action plan.
And it's so important, all the different people you've brought to the table. We're going to be talking to a number of them today, ironically. I think it's so important to know that nobody can do it alone. No. It's going to take an entire city. It's going to take the elected officials, obviously the Ottawa Board of Trade, all of the businesses to think differently as well. What's the dream? Take me a decade from now.
So the dream is, first, that everybody in Ottawa and at every level of government understands understand that we all have a vested interest in ensuring that our downtown is thriving. Okay, so we have been very fortunate, as I've said, but even pre-pandemic, there were opportunities for the downtown maybe to be a little more vibrant, right? It was literally built for the government.
Right.
And so you look at the buildings, those are not modern workplaces. Those are not modern buildings. And so there was an opportunity to perhaps modernize or diversify the downtown anyway. And so for us, having more diversity is the main thing. So not just people working there 9 to 5, Monday to Friday, but also people living there, right? And creating walkable, amenity-rich communities where people want to live and work, because people can live and work in two different places now. So we want that. We want to make sure that we're building up downtown as a key destination so that we can attract visitors here. Visitors come we have, I don't even want to say millions of visitors every year, right, who come because it's the nation's capital. So making sure that we can extend that stay and then maybe leverage those visitors to come here to live or to work or open a business. And that we have what they call placemaking, so that we have beautiful public realms and places where people can gather and enjoy our downtown, and that it's presents a feeling of safety and security as well, because there have been a lot of social challenges which have manifested themselves in our downtowns, and so making sure that we're bringing everyone along as we start to elevate.
Yeah, it's so crucially important. And when I think about, obviously everything that the city's been through, the country, the world's been through, it does feel like an opportunity. It feels like a refresh, if you will, rethinking what this downtown core could be. But it's also, I think about small businesses that maybe thought the downtown wasn't for them, and it is now because of this live, work, play, perspective.
So a lot of the small businesses in the downtown have been disproportionately impacted because their built-in market is no longer there. And so that's why we are very keen on supporting our SMEs, our small, medium enterprises, so that they continue to thrive, because there are long-term and short-term things that we need to do to realize this dream of our new downtown. And so we need to bring as many businesses across the line with us as possible. And they are all going to be a part of the solution. But you're right, it's multifaceted. And that's another advantage that we have, if you think about a fresh perspective, is that during the pandemic, we really did, as an economic ecosystem, have to build that muscle of working together at the deepest levels, right? To be really innovative in how we rolled out programs, how we identified priorities. And so we can use that same concept and those same skills as we approach this next phase of developing downtown.
It is so exciting. And we're going to be speaking with Yasir Naqvi a little bit later in the show. How important is it to have a federal voice like that at the table?
100%. So he really was the leader. So in the summer, I think, of 2022, he was the first one that said, let's get together and think about what it is that we can do to revitalize downtown. We were looking at what are the conversion, the possibilities for converting the buildings, looking at could they be converted to other business models, could they be converted to residential, and so we were at that table as well as many other community stakeholders, and that report has just come out recently. With a lot of good recommendations, and we're inserting that into our action plan as well. So we're really grateful to him for his leadership, and other MPs and MPPs that we have spoken to about this, and city councilors are also very supportive.
It's wonderful. I love giving people things to do.
Yes.
What are we asking people to do today to support this regeneration, this revitalization of the downtown core?
I guess the first thing is that when you're talking about the downtown in your networks, to acknowledge that the downtown core is important to all of Ottawa. I mean, it's an economic driver for our city, and it is quite literally a tax base for our city that we need to drive other services. So whether you're in Canada or Orleans, or it's important to you that our downtown thrives. So spreading that message is one thing, and then supporting the downtown. Like come down, support those businesses, promote those businesses. Do whatever you can to to make it vibrant and fun and invite people to come. And then for the businesses there, we're really encouraging businesses to continue to be, innovative in their thinking. A year and a half ago, I think we worked with Canderel at the Constitution Square, and we hosted this huge 300-person party back to business in the lobby of Constitution Square. Well, it was magnificent. And before, you might not have thought of hosting a party in a business lobby, right? So animate the street level if you're a business, make your workplaces really attractive so people want to come into the office. That's all part of creating some vibrancy, but it's really all part too of bringing back together a community in a time where we really do need to be connected, because that's part of our well-being as well.
We only have about a minute, but I have to ask you, to become a member of the Ottawa Board of Trade, what does it take?
Just go online, and all of the information is there. But all businesses, every size, every sector in the Ottawa business community are invited and encouraged to become members as we continue to push forward in building a strong city for the next generation.
And when I attend the events, when I see the kind of work that's being done from an advocacy perspective, there really is a place for everyone at the table. It's for everyone.
Yeah, so 100%. I mean, our community and our economy is made up of different kinds of businesses and different kinds of leaders, and so our organization represents all of those because we represent the entire business community.
Beautifully said.
Thank you.
Sueling Ching, of course, she is the President and CEO of the Ottawa Board of Trade. We are going to meet Karla Briones when we come back. She is a force to reckon with in all the right ways. Stay with us on Ottawa Business Matters. Today is all about business. I'm Sam LaPrade, Ottawa Business Matters. We talk with entrepreneurs and leaders in this community. And today I'm so happy to welcome to the show Karla Briones. Hi, Karla. How are you?
Good. Thanks for having me.
Fantastic to have you here. You have a number of titles. I could use any one of them. Serial entrepreneur, business leader, community leader, a board member at the Ottawa Board of Trade. Lots of different titles for you there. How do you describe yourself?
I'm passionate about small businesses, local small businesses. I love entrepreneurs, I love entrepreneurship, and I love supporting business and business matters in the city.
That.
Yeah.
I love that. And that would be great on a business card.
Yes.
That would be fantastic. Listen, I mean, when I think about you, I think about incredible op-ed pieces you've written for the Ottawa Citizen. You have not been shy to talk about business. Why is it so important for you to put business at the forefront for this community?
I think because sometimes it's actually a great opportunity to be able to write those op-ed pieces, because I write them with the point of view of small businesses. And I think a lot of people, especially during COVID, people didn't really know what it was like to be an entrepreneur during COVID or after COVID as well. And it just gives me a platform to talk to other business owners, see how they're doing, and then bring those issues forward to the general public who doesn't know what it's like to be an entrepreneur, doesn't know what are the issues and what are the struggles. So it was, I love writing these op-ed pieces because it just provides a different perspective to the reader about what is like, what's happening in the small business world and what is it like to be an entrepreneur in Ottawa.
Take me back. How did you make your way to Ottawa?
Okay, so this is a long story, but we'll make it short. I'm actually from Mexico.
Okay.
I grew up there until I was 18, and then we took a U-Haul trip. And we drove from the north of Mexico all the way to Ottawa, 3,700 kilometers. And here we are. And it was a decision that it wasn't mine, it was my parents, entrepreneurs as well, just for the hope of a better future for us as a family.
And look at what you've done with that. it really is remarkable.
Thank you. It hasn't been easy.
No. Yeah.
There's many years of a lot of struggles. We live your typical immigrant experience. My father as well. Eventually, he ended up opening he's a veterinarian, so he had to recertify as a veterinarian here first, and then open up his practice. But he did that when he was 52. when a lot of people are thinking of retiring, he was just starting out. And then, I mean, when you have that example at home, it's hard not to follow suit.
That's my age. So, I mean, I have so much respect for that, because
I know.
that's
Me
a
too.
completely, that's a whole other life, right?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
And so, I mean, obviously you're passionate about small business. We've established that, coming to Canada at 18. So is it even more special to you to maybe meet a family that's come to Canada with the dream that your family's had?
Oh, absolutely, especially when they're entrepreneurs themselves, right? I see a lot of them in the downtown core, because a lot of them love the Byward Market area and the Sparks area, and it's just so, I mean, immigrants are entrepreneurial in nature, and it's just so cool to meet families that come to Canada with that dream, and they work really hard to make it happen, right? And obviously supporting those dreams and giving them a platform through the op-ed pieces, for example, to share their stories and to tell us what it's like. It is definitely an honor and a privilege.
You know, we're just coming out of International Women's Day. I can't help but ask you, how challenging has it been for you as a woman? What are the opportunities? What have been the challenges?
I think we're in a time of life where the challenges of a woman entrepreneur are not as hard as they were probably 10 years ago, 15 years ago. Are there still some challenges? Yes, they are, and I think the biggest one is funding. Trying to find funding that is, non-repayable funding. It's usually a challenge as an entrepreneur in general, but women do face those challenges because statistically, women open businesses in the service industry and the product-based businesses, and right now the funding, the funding is. A lot of it is targeted at technology companies, which statistically women are a small minority in those industries. So I think the biggest challenge for women entrepreneurs right now would be, and has always been, getting those funding dollars under their belts.
I remember many years ago, someone said to me, if you want something done, give it to a busy person. And I'm thinking, that's Karla.
I was going to say, give it to a busy woman.
Busy woman, there you go. We'll
done.
change that this week. And I think about that, in terms of all the other things you have on your plate, but you're still a board member of the Ottawa Board of Trade. Why is that seat so important to you?
I think as a minority woman, so as a woman, of an underrepresented background, for me, that was the reason. I wanted to take a seat at the table where I could get my voice heard, but also of those of underrepresented backgrounds, and bring diversity into an organization. I take that job very seriously, and it's always nice to be able to provide a different perspective in that table. And I think that was my main mission, my main priority, was to be able to get another perspective and a different voice and a different idea heard at the table. So again, just making sure that, there would be people that complain, we don't see representation. I was one of those. I was complaining, but then I'm like, well, let's do something about it. So it was my way of adding, diversity and representation in an organization where we could have an opportunity to get our voices heard.
And here's the beautiful thing: is someone might be watching us right now, listening to us right now, thinking, I don't know if this is for me. I'm a small business. I'm in Manotick or Orleans, or I'm somewhere in this community, and maybe membership is for me, and they maybe not thought about it before. Inspire them to become members, because that's, the more members we have, the more voices we hear.
Absolutely. And people may think that, again, that organization doesn't speak to them, but you have to be part of something in order to be heard, right? And also as an entrepreneur, it's a lonely journey. It's so lonely to be an entrepreneur, especially if you're in the outskirts of the city, right? You're most of the time you're focusing on your business. So becoming a member or becoming part of something bigger than you, it just provides you with that network. It provides you with that group of people that you can rely on, call upon if you have any issues, questions, and whatnot. So it's a way of not doing things on your own and having a group of people surrounding you.
Yeah, beautifully said. We spoke about all those other communities. Today we're talking a lot about the downtown core as well. We're going to have a couple of guests that are focusing on that as well today. What are your thoughts on the downtown core? Are you excited about the opportunities that lay ahead?
Yes, I think I'm cautiously optimistic. It's been, as an entrepreneur myself and as a friend of many entrepreneurs that are in the downtown core, some that have gone out of business and some that are starting businesses. I think I'm putting my entrepreneur hat. It's a caution, optimism on what is to come of the downtown core. But we see it in the Ottawa area. When you go to the Byware Market, when you go to Spark Street, it's starting to look a little bit more lively. But I think that we have a long way to go. But we all need to stand in together and come up with different ideas and come up with different suggestions on what we can do in order to bring more people to the downtown core, more business to the downtown core. If the residential is not available right now, it's not going to happen overnight. But there's other things that we could do in the city as entrepreneurs, as residents, to support that downtown core. So am I optimistic? Cautiously optimistic. As an entrepreneur, as a citizen, I love the downtown core. So there are a lot of opportunities, and it takes a village to support that area. So it's just a matter of us going downtown and supporting it. So it's cautious optimism.
Yeah, I love it. And I know that we talked about all the different hats that you wear. Business coach, one of those hats. So we've only got about a minute, sadly. I could talk to you all day. But talk to me a little bit about being a business coach and that vital role.
Yeah, so again, I'm very passionate about underrepresented entrepreneurs and making sure that they have the support. And that is sort of my sweet spot is immigrant entrepreneurship, obviously because of my background. And it's helping those immigrants who come to Canada with a business dream and making sure that they get the human capital faster that is needed, making sure that they get that funding, making sure that they get the right foundation so that they're able to either open, grow, or acquire businesses at a faster rate in a more successful way. That's my passion, that's my mission in life, and that's what I want to keep doing for the rest of my life.
And what's it like? Like I said, we only got about 30 seconds, but talk to me a little bit of what's like to connect with somebody at the beginning of their journey and then watch them.
Oh, it's the best feeling ever to see them with an idea a year ago and to see them succeed or being successful and actually going for it a year later. It's incredible. It's very rewarding, and it's something to be admired.
And I admire you.
Oh,
I admire you very much. Thank you so much, Karla. I appreciate you joining me today. Karla Briones joining us today. Of course, she is a business coach. She's a member of the Ottawa Board of Trade and so much more. When we come back, I'm going to talk a little hotels with the one and only Steve Ball. Come on back. Ottawa Business Matters. I'm Sam LaPrade, and this is Ottawa Business Matters. We talk all things business. We're here to inform, influence, and inspire, and I know our next guest will inspire us for sure, and that is Steve Ball, president of the Ottawa-Gatineau Hotel Association. Hello, Steve.
Hey, Sam. Thanks for the invite.
Great to have you here.
Great to be here.
Just as we were coming on, you mentioned the number 11 million. What does 11 million mean to us here in the city, Steve?
That means a whole lot of visitors and a whole lot of economic benefit to this community. Those are kind of the numbers we looked at in 2019 in terms of visitors. Some of them in hotels, some of them with friends and relatives, some of them visiting for the day, all of them spending money.
Can I be really cheeky and say
ahead.
The money part really inspires me?
All of us, we should.
Yeah.
You know, it's part of what makes the city tick.
And I remember, and I don't mean to keep going back to the pandemic, but I remember early days, I'll say maybe May, June of 2020, I phoned you up, you came on radio with me. I said, Steve, how challenging is this going to be for our city? And you said, I'm really challenging because we rely so much, that ecosystem we talk about a lot. It really was challenging, but we're on the other side of it.
We are.
So take me to now.
So recovery comes in three different ways. We have a leisure market traveler, somebody that might come for Winterlude, although not this year. We have corporate travel, people that come to do business in this market. We're a real association market. We've got just short of 100 association head offices in Ottawa. And then we have travel trade and conventions and meetings. And so those three segments make up the bulk of what the hotel community provides or supplies to that traveler. And so we've recovered in most areas, but we're still lagging a little bit in corporate travel because we're a federal government market, and the new work from home policies have influenced people coming to do business with the government.
Yeah, such a different perspective, right? Things we wouldn't have thought about a decade ago. Very, very different today. What is the role of the Ottawa-Gatineau Hotel Association? What's your job?
So advocacy is a big part of it. You know, there's support for the industry. So the industry's had trouble getting financing. The banks haven't necessarily been hotel friendly over the last few years. We have insurance issues in that if you're suffering fire and floods, insurance goes up in the country, not just in those areas. We have issues around labor. Labor is a big one, and so we lobby the governments in terms of them understanding the impact of immigration and how important that is to the hospitality industry and the hotel industry. We lobby around short-term rentals and to ensure that that division of the marketplace has the proper health and safety regulations in place to ensure the guest experience is what we want to demonstrate when people come to Canada.
It's so important, and you know, and I mean, I love this city. I love it so much. I love this region. It's called the Ottawa-Gatineau Hotel Association. How important is it to think about that region?
Well, when you look at our marketing opportunities, regionally, that's our sex appeal. So when we're in Europe and France and the greater European area, that's a benefit we have, that we can provide two different cultures, two different languages. We're divided by a river, and I like to say we're actually connected by a river. So in certain segments of our marketing, you know, that's a uniqueness that we have that nowhere else in Canada does. So you want to take advantage of that, right?
Oh, absolutely.
And from a membership perspective, we do a lot of social events that tie the community together. We do a lot of community outreach programs that both Ottawa and Gatineau want to participate in. So we don't see it as division, we see it as united.
I love it.
Yeah.
What keeps you up at night?
Labor. Labor is a big one right now because as we recover, both as a city and as a country, the guest experience is critical. It's a very global competitive market, tourism. And so we need to be sure that we've got the right people in place, that they're trained, that we're able to communicate and relate to different cultures and communities. So working with the federal and provincial governments as well as the municipal governments, we need to ensure that our labor supply meets the needs of what the future of tourism is going to look like. The other big one for Ottawa is airlift. You know, we're stuck between two international airports, Montreal and Toronto, and so Porter has come into Ottawa as a hub, and we're just thrilled.
Yes.
We have a direct flight now with Air France, directly to Paris. We need to keep evolving our ability for international travelers to get here simply and affordably.
Yeah, all those things. When I heard about the Paris flight, I was so excited because it just opens up so much for us.
And when you look at the one connection from Paris into Africa and through Europe and Asia, it just makes it easier and more attractive for Ottawa to be a destination.
For sure.
Yeah.
We think a lot, obviously, and I've said it time and time again, Ottawa's huge, obviously. Thinking about the downtown core today, Yasir Naqvi, MP for Ottawa Centre, is going to join us in a few minutes as well. Thinking about that downtown core, it's got some complications there, Steve. Talk to me a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I want to thank Yasir for the work he's done downtown. He's exceptional, and he's driving the bus, which is wonderful. Like most major markets, we do have some social issues, absolutely. This is not unique just to our marketplace, so We spend a lot of time researching, investigating what other markets are doing to help remedy some of the issues. Again, I come back to Ottawa's a bit unique in that the work from home policies of the federal government has made our downtown core a little less vibrant. We've built this community around supporting the federal government, and now they're not here or not here all the time. So we need to have an all hands on deck, all community strategy around how we evolve our downtown. And Yasir's done great work in inviting all of the right key stakeholders to the table to talk about how do things impact your market and your communities and your industries. So that when we make decisions about either street closures or investment in public realm, that we're doing it understanding the impact and the unintended consequences it might have on all kinds of different businesses, including the hotel industry. I mean, let's face it, guest experience, ease of travel, and safety are really important in somebody's decision to travel. So
100%.
we need to be conscious of that.
100%. A number of years ago, I'm going to go with maybe 5 years ago, dear friend of mine, Deirdre Freiheit, of course, at that time, president and CEO of the Shepherds of Good Hope Foundation and the Shepherds of Good Hope, big shoes to fill there when she resigned from that position. But I remember her saying to me, and it was around Valentine's Day, she said, Sam, you are never going to believe what Steve Ball is doing for the Shepherds of Good Hope. I know you're too humble to tell us, but I'm going to put you on the spot. What did you do?
Well, first of all, Steve Ball was just the lucky figurehead to be supporting such a generous group of hoteliers. So I've been on that board for 6 years. It's humbling to be on the board, and I've learned a lot about the realities of what homelessness and requirements are to support our most vulnerable population is. A complete 180-degree way of thinking now. So the hoteliers have heart program on Valentine's Day is something we've done now, we being the hoteliers, for 22 years. And just this year, with the support of the hoteliers and some suppliers, we donated 4,400 tons of protein, which will represent about 11,000 meals throughout the year. And then a group of hoteliers go in, we serve lunch, and we clean up, and we mingle with the guests. And I can tell you, out of all the things I do in 365 days, that's the most feel-good day at the end of the day that I experience. So it's very special. And I encourage other groups, other industries to look at this kind of public service because it's so critical and so necessary nowadays.
And do you look at the challenges around social issues like homelessness different because you've sat at that table?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's nothing like education. And it's understanding, first of all, it's a really complex and a complicated issue. If you can't paint one picture, it's a canvas with many different inputs that are causing the conditions we're seeing nowadays. But you got to knock them off one by one. You have to address them one by one. And I am on a committee called the Balanced Community Task Force in the Byward Market, and we've actually established a block captain program whereby we've trained over 150 people that are homeless right now to help manage the community and work with us to better provide feedback to this community. And the obvious thing that was never done in the past that I recognized was simply asking this community, what do you need back? And it's amazing what you will learn when you actually ask somebody, what do you want? And so we're just scratching the surface. It's just a pilot, but I'm really excited about the potential of where this could go for all of our communities.
Fantastic.
It really is.
And I know you're such a vital partner as well for the Ottawa Board of Trade, and having you here today is lovely. Talk to me a little bit about that relationship.
So the industry plays a pretty big role. It's $1 billion industry a year, and we estimated in 2019 it contributed about $2.2 billion worth of economic benefit. The majority of that comes down to our downtown core, but spread out throughout the city. So it's really critical our industry has a voice, and even more importantly that we have ears, that we listen to what other industry, what the city, Ottawa Tourism is obviously a key partner of ours and doing really good work. So as my role and what I do at my desk is ensure that I am involved in the communication, the important communication pipeline between what our industry needs to contribute and share with Board of Trade and Ottawa Tourism and the City of Ottawa, but even more importantly, the feedback they give us that I can take back to my board, and we can plan ahead or respond in a way that our industry has a voice.
Yeah, so important, and especially now more than ever.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for your time, as always. Steve Ball joining us today. He is the president of the Ottawa-Gatineau Hotel Association. When we come back, Yasir Naqvi, MP for Ottawa Centre. Come on back to Ottawa Business Matters. I'm Sam LaPrade. What a thrill today to have Yasir Naqvi, MP from Ottawa Centre, in the building today on Ottawa Business Matters. How are you?
I'm really well. Thank you for having me.
I feel like I've spent the last couple of weeks with you because we've been at so many different events. This city is buzzing.
It's buzzing. It's coming back, and it's really exciting. People are coming out, networking starting again. I think that's good for our community. That's really good for our business. We have lots more work to do, but it feels like a good start.
Absolutely. So give us a sense, when we think about Ottawa Centre, where are we meaning? What's the radius there?
Well, we're in the Rogers building right now, so that's in Ottawa Centre. So it includes Westboro on the west end. On the east end, the canal is the boundary, the river on the north side, and on the south side of the riding, it goes past Central Experimental Farm all the way where Prince of Wales meets Fisher. So it's a fairly big community. Is the original part of the city, essentially.
Don't tell any of the other MPs, but I think you've got the best riding.
I believe so.
Yeah, it's gorgeous. I mean, you've got everything in there. Absolutely. You have worked so hard, and you've received a lot of recognition for what you've tried to do about the downtown core and revitalizing it. How important has this file been for you?
It's a really important file. Look, I mean, our downtown was in a bit of a challenge for some time, even before the pandemic. Our downtown was designed as a Monday to Friday, 9 to 5 type of entity. And of course, with the presence of federal government, which is an important part of Ottawa, we saw that our downtown really became about the federal government. And then the pandemic hit. And we saw that people had to work from home in order to be safe health-wise. And as we're getting out of the pandemic, we're seeing some serious challenges surface again as a result of that. The nature of work has changed. Hybrid work is here to stay. So we're looking at what to do with that excess space in the downtown core. That is impacting a lot of our small businesses in the downtown core. And then not to mention, we've got some really important social issues around homelessness, around substance abuse and addiction. So we are looking at ways to address that so we can bring people back into our downtown to work, to live, and to visit. Given the fact that we're a capital city of a G7 country.
Right, absolutely. How key is it for you to get the attention of other political leaders to say this is a priority? Everybody thinks their area is a priority, but this is such a special, and you've already sort of shared, a special part of the city from a national perspective, of course, but from a city perspective. How do you get the attention, the eyes on this downtown core?
The point I'm trying to make is that it's all our collective responsibility to really pay attention as to how we revitalize downtown Ottawa. I also say one thing, that's good for our city. It's not just about downtown. If you live in Barrhaven, if you live in Orleans, if you live in Canada or Alta Vista, how our downtown is important for the overall prosperity of our city. That's why I'm so appreciative that Ottawa Board of Trade has made the revitalization of downtown Ottawa as one of their priorities, because they recognize that it's going to really positively impact all of city of Ottawa and all residents and businesses of Ottawa. So we need all three orders of government to be working together, the federal, provincial, and municipal government. We want businesses to be working together, and local residents, local community members who live in those areas as well. And that's precisely why over a year and a half ago, I initiated the Downtown Ottawa Revitalization Task Force. The idea was to bring everybody at one table so that we can start sharing our concerns and positive ideas as to how we revitalize downtown Ottawa.
Have you had the ear of the Prime Minister? I mean, is it the kind of thing? I mean, he lives here. He sees the downtown core. Is it something that you think is reached his office?
I've spoken to him. His office has been directly engaged about the plight of downtown. I'm working with a couple of ministers who have direct responsibility, working with the municipal government around federal buildings and assets that we have in the downtown core to come up with a plan in partnership with City of Ottawa and hopefully the province of Ontario so that we can really work in a concerted, in a cohesive manner in rebuilding our downtown.
And of course, it just struck me, of course, as you formerly represented the province of Ontario as well. How important are those relationships at the table? I think about Mayor Mark Sutcliffe, Premier Doug Ford, of course, and the Prime Minister, that you've got connection to everybody there.
Those relationships are so key, and you need somebody who can build on those relationships, because again, it is our collective responsibility. One of the things that we made sure in the report that came out of the task force, and I encourage people to go to my website yasirnaqvimp.ca to read the report. It's over 100 pages long with lots of good ideas, but there's a call for action. We do not finger point at anyone, but what we talk about in a positive way, that we all have an opportunity to work together. So I've been working with Mayor Sutcliffe on this, and he's been very receptive to ideas. I'm working with Minister Duclos and Minister Anita Anand, ministers who are responsible for these files, along with my local MPs. I recently had a meeting with MPP Lisa MacLeod, who's our government's representative provincially in the city, to share ideas from the report, to say, look, we need a champion at Queen's Park as well, because they have a role to play. So what I'm trying to do, along with Ottawa Board of Trade, is to bring all the partners together so that we are working together in order to revitalize downtown Ottawa, to get the resources we need and the action that will come out of it. Again, it is not just about downtown. It will impact Byward Market. It will impact the future development of Libretton, the exciting thing that's happening at Lesdown Park, but also the business districts we are seeing developing in Canada, in Barrhaven, and Orleans, and other parts of the city.
I know a little bit about your story, and it would take us an hour to tell your full story, and it is an incredible story. We spoke with somebody earlier who also immigrated to this country and has seen the incredible opportunities here. Representing this downtown core, do you pinch yourself sometimes that you get to represent at Parliament and represent so beautifully?
Sam, we're so lucky to live in this country. My family and I came 35 years ago to Canada. I was 15 years old, hardly spoke any English. Obviously, I've gotten a great education, have been able to build a network. I came to Ottawa in mid-90s to attend law school, and I fell in love with the city. And that love affair continues. This is my home. Both my children are born here. And you're absolutely right. I tell people this, that I'm an immigrant kid who have now first represented the same downtown community as a member of provincial parliament, and now I represent it as a member of a parliament, a riding that has the Prime Minister's office, the House of Commons, the Senate, the Bank of Canada, the Supreme Court of Canada. All your key national institutions are located in this riding, and it's represented by somebody who's an immigrant who just came 35 years ago. That doesn't speak to me. I think that speaks to the strength of the country and the society that we're building here in Canada.
You've talked about all these different people you've brought to the table, which has been fantastic. Is there anybody missing, Yasir? Is there anybody at the end of the day you're like, we need to bring this person for whatever reason, or this organization to the table, and they aren't there yet?
I think everybody's engaged. One of the big aim for the task force was, one, to bring people around the table so that we're speaking together to each other and listening to our ideas, but also to raise the profile and the urgency to revitalize downtown Ottawa. I didn't want this to be neglected 10, 15 years. And the result is that everybody is paying attention. Everybody is collaborating and working together. So I feel quite good about that. What's needed now is action. What we need, and it doesn't have to be all the big things at once. I think we need to start with some of the shorter term pieces, but what we need is action, and that's what I'm focused on.
And does action equal money?
Money is always an important part of it, of course. I think, but you need willingness as well. I think there's things that you can do for relatively smaller amount of money with a huge impact. I think part of it is giving people hope that we believe in our downtown core, and we are doing things to change the feeling of the downtown core. I'll just give you a quick example. Just about a few weeks ago, I went canvassing in the downtown part of the riding. And even though there are so many big issues right now people are facing as we're coming out of the pandemic, affordability being one of them, the number one issue people spoke to me about is about the plight of the downtown. How young families who like living in the downtown are thinking of perhaps moving outside downtown because they don't feel safe in the local park, because they're finding the small businesses are shutting down, and so it's losing that vibrancy that is so needed for a downtown core. And so I spent a lot of time telling people, look, we are trying to do things to change the trajectory of our downtown. So this is a real issue, and I think people need some hope and to see some real action that will give them the feeling that downtown is their home and they want to continue living and working there.
I don't know about you, but I love going downtown and having dinner and doing a staycation with my daughter and, you know, all of those kinds of things. I think engaging as residents as well and making it a priority to head to the downtown, invite our friends and family is so vital as well.
Absolutely. And look, we've got some of the key elements of infrastructure in place, and we just need to leverage them. We've built the LRT, right? Over $2 billion investment for phase one. Similar investment happening in phase two that will connect the outer core of our city to the downtown core, creating that opportunity for you to take train with your family, watch a show at the NSC, go to a restaurant and be able to take the train back. So we need to think of better ways to leverage that asset. We've got amazing tourist attractions, not only the parliamentary precinct, but our museums and art galleries are all located in the downtown core. That creates an opportunity for people to come, not just from our city, but other parts of the country and the world as well. Lastly, you've got all these amazing real estate buildings that are in place. Some of it has been declared surplus buildings by federal government. I'm working really hard to get them out in the market as quickly as possible so other businesses can look at potentials, whether to convert them from commercial space to residential space. We're starting to see that happen in our downtown. That will allow for more people to come and live in the downtown, or looking at other business opportunities in those buildings. So we've got, I really feel that we have the right building blocks in place. Now we just need to find them, how do we put them all together to make it happen.
Perfect, and I know you're the right guy to do it. Thank you so much. Yasir Naqvi joining us today. This has been Ottawa Business Matters. Thanks so much for being with us.